The European Telecoms Commissioner Viviane Reding will announce plans later to cap the amount that companies will be able to charge for texts sent while people are travelling in other European countries. Many operators have recently cut their roaming call charges in time for a deadline imposed by the Commissioner. But many in the industry believe that by forcing prices down further in one area, companies will simply recoup the losses by putting prices up elsewhere. Well, Tim Lord is the Director of Regulation at the Mobile Phone Operator 3. He's in our Reading studio. Mr. Lord, thanks very much for joining us. What do you make of her proposals then? Do you think it'll help the consumer in the way that she intends?
Yes, we welcome these proposals. At 3, we've been doing everything we can to get these prices down to a reasonable level. On our own networks, we don't charge any premium for using your phone abroad at all. But we can only do that in Ireland and Italy and Austria, Denmark, Sweden, where we have our own sister networks. When we've tried to negotiate lower wholesale rates in Spain and France, for example, we just find that the incumbent operators aren't prepared to make any significant reduction. That means that our retail prices for text origination in these countries is 25p, and we think that's too much for premium for customers. And it has a very odd effect. It means that people are less likely to use these services when abroad, and there's no reason for that.
I imagine that not all companies will feel quite as welcoming as you do. Don't you recoup your losses elsewhere, though, by making up charges in other parts of services?
Well, this is a familiar argument from the incumbent operators that apparently in a competitive market, whenever their prices go down in one place, they can raise them elsewhere, apparently also in competitive markets. I think there are two things to say. One is that obviously if the prices go down, utilisation will increase. That will definitely be a big effect on data roaming prices if they go down. At the moment, the prices are excluding any usage. And the other effect is, the other thing I'd mention is that price reductions last year on voice have not led to prices going up elsewhere. So I'm not convinced by this argument that prices rise after a reduction.
But the Commissioner argues that calls for self-regulation and voluntary reductions in prices for various services haven't been answered. I mean, she's effectively had to force companies to do it because they won't do it off their own bat.
Yeah, and we agree with that experience. We have tried to negotiate lower prices, and when we negotiate, we both seek lower prices from the other operators, but we also offer those lower prices on our own network when they send customers to the UK, for example. And effectively, they have, with very few exceptions, they're not interested in lowering the prices at the wholesale level because they know the value to their businesses of keeping the retail prices high. And I think it's a great shame. In data roaming, I think it's a very great pity that the billions of pounds that all the mobile operators have invested across Europe in upgrading their networks to 3G are not being utilised, because unless we persuade customers to use these new services, we've wasted everybody's time. And customers are not going to use these services when they have punitive retail prices.
Tim Lord from the Mobile Phone Operator 3, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.